Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tipped. My name is Julian, and in today's episode, we're continuing that series of episodes that I've been making about each individual NHL teams, their notable players, and whether I think you should consider drafting those players. Now, because we're going alphabetically, this episode is about the Buffalo Sabres. Before we get started, guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Tipped. Now let's jump straight into the content, and let's start with the Buffalo Sabres lines that I project for this year. And on the top line, we have Skinner, Tage Thompson, and Victor Olofsson. On the second line, Jack Quinn, Dylan Cousins, and Tuch. And then on the third line, Asplund, Middlestat, and Payton Krebs. Now, Alex Tuch could just as easily be on the top line with Skinner and Thompson like he was for the majority of the season last year. However, at the end of the year, Olofsson was in that spot and was excelling. Now, let's jump into Buffalo's noteworthy players, and first on the list is Rasmus Dahlin. NHL.com has him ranked as the 97th best fantasy player this year. Last year managed to score 53 points in 80 games, which is pretty good. He finished as the 126th ranked fantasy player last year, and Buffalo should be a better team this year, so that power play should be a little bit better, and the team overall should be a little bit better, so he shouldn't finish as such a negative plus-minus player this year. And overall, I think he is going to improve a little bit, so this ranking does make a lot of sense. I don't think it's a steal by any means, this ranking, but it's a pretty decent ranking. And second on the list, we have Owen Power, and he's currently ranked at 123 on NHL's list. But because of Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power is probably not going to be seeing that top power play time. Yes, I know he was a first overall pick a couple of drafts ago, and I know he's a great player, but the opportunity is not really there for him to put up some crazy numbers, and therefore drafting him at 123 is just way too early in my opinion. Now, the next guy on this list, Tage Thompson, is someone I really like drafting. He's currently ranked at 132 on NHL's list, but finished as the 67th best fantasy player last year. So it's basically he's being drafted at double what he should be drafted at. And he finished last year with the 30th most shots on goal per game as well. This guy loves to shoot the puck, and players that like to shoot the puck are always successful because they always score a nice amount of goals. He scored 68 points last year in 78 games with a huge breakout campaign for him, and he's going to be slated to play on that top line once again with guys like Jeff Skinner and Olofsson or Alex Tuch. Whatever it is, he's going to have a really good opportunity to repeat the season he had last year, and drafting him at 132 overall could be an absolute steal. Next on the list is Alex Tuch, and after coming back from an injury last year, managed to score 38 points in 50 games, and for the majority of the season looked pretty fire, but he was wildly inconsistent. He started off insanely strong, playing on that top line, putting up lots of shots on goal, lots of points, and then kind of tapered off, which is a little bit worrisome, so he's a little bit of an inconsistent player. At a ranking of 168, it does make sense. He was 118th last year in terms of fantasy points per game, but he's someone that I'm not super high on because he may not get that top line spot like he did last year. Maybe not even top power play because they got guys like Jack Quinn coming up who might want to give top power play time to instead of Tuch. So Tuch is someone that I don't absolutely hate in this range, but he's not someone I will personally be drafting this season. And then at 196, they have Jeff Skinner ranked, and he had 63 points in 80 games, a huge bounce back season for Jeff Skinner. And odds are he's going to have the same deployment as last year, top power play, top line. And it looks like he's back and motivated again in Buffalo because Buffalo's finally got some good young players, and they actually have a really fun team to watch. So Jeff Skinner should be a guy who's pumped up for this year and should put together another nice season. He finished as the 97th best fantasy player last year and is ranked at almost double that range at 196, so he could definitely be a huge steal at this range. He's also someone that likes to shoot the puck a lot, much like Tage Thompson, had the 29th most shots on goal last year, which was absolutely fantastic, and he's someone that continues to shoot the puck, and he will shoot the puck a lot this year too, so that's going to give you a nice safe floor night in and night out. And then they have Victor Olofsson ranked at 244 overall, and he's going very late in the draft. He had a pretty forgettable season for the most part until the very end when he took Alex Tuch's spot on the top line and had an incredible finish to the season, was scoring a lot of points left and right. Now, he didn't get much power play one time pretty much the entire year, but at this range in the draft, this late, getting a possible top line player that's going to put up lots of points is someone that you can't really ignore at this range, and that's why I kind of really like Victor Olofsson this late in the draft, because he does have that possibility of playing on the top line, and we all know that Victor Olofsson can put up points when he's given that opportunity, and he definitely can catch fire. And then Payton Krebs, they actually had on this list, but they ended up removing him off the list, so I put him at 250 plus. He's someone that I see playing on the third line this year, so I don't see him having like crazy value just because of that. He's someone that is a very good young talent, and I think he's going to have a pretty bright future in the NHL. I just don't see him having a huge fantasy year this year. He may be someone that could be pick-upable if ever the Sabres have a really favorable schedule, but he's not someone I'm going to be drafting. And then I have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who's someone they also had included in the top 250 players. They also removed because they're always adjusting that list. Now, Pekka Luukkonen is an interesting case here because I thought that this year he would be the starter in Buffalo, but they went ahead and re-signed Craig Anderson for another year, and they also signed Eric Comrie. And because of that, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is once again the third goalie on the depth chart. Anderson and Eric Comrie cannot be sent down to the AHL. Therefore, by default, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen will probably begin the season in the AHL. Now, don't get me wrong. The Sabres goalies are super injury prone in general, which is why, in all likelihood, Craig Anderson probably will get injured at some point, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen will be called up, and then he'll be the starting goalie over Eric Comrie. However, to start the year, unless Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is absolutely stellar in training camp and they have no choice but to start him in nets, it will be Craig Anderson starting for the Sabres and Eric Comrie acting as a backup and Pekka Luukkonen playing in the AHL. So I don't recommend drafting him unless he does really have an incredible, stellar training camp and preseason. And then I have Craig Anderson on this list, and obviously I just talked about him. He's going to be the starter for the Buffalo Sabres, so if you're super late in your draft and you don't know who to pick up and you really, really need a goalie, Craig Anderson is someone I don't think is the worst pickup in the world. He's going to get the majority of the starts in Buffalo, probably 60%. I don't think he's going to get that many. He is pretty old, but he's someone that'll get a decent amount of wins this year. Buffalo is a much improved team, and they're not going to be one of the bottom feeders of the NHL this year. Then I have Jack Quinn, guys, and I cannot believe that he's not ranked on NHL's top 250 list. If you haven't seen my rookie video, check it out right up there. I linked it up top and in the description. Guys, Jack Quinn is someone who's going to have an amazing season this year. He's going to be one of the contenders for the Calder for sure. If you want to know more about him, definitely check out that rookie video that I linked. He's someone that could be an absolute steal if he's going as late in the draft as these rankings suggest. Then I have JJ Peterka, and he's another good rookie who's going to have a very bright season in the NHL. I don't think he's going to crack the lineup this year, at least not right away. It seems like they have a pretty full roster, especially with Kyle Okposo being projected to play on the fourth line in my projections. So I don't think Peterka is going to make the team right away. But if there's ever some injuries, Peterka can definitely come in and might look pretty good. But for now, I'm not going to be drafting Peterka, and I don't suggest you do either. And then last but not least, I have Kyle Okposo, who has a really nice bounce back year last year with 45 points in 74 games and was honestly a pretty good player to have on your roster for lots of the season last year. But the thing is, with all the young talent they have, it looks like Okposo is probably going to play on the fourth line this year. And because of that, I don't really like his fantasy value this year, so I will not be drafting Kyle Okposo. And that's it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.